Similar to Event 201, there was a report written by the Rockefeller Foundation. It has the bland title of Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. Now, as I stated previously, I've read through a lot of these documents. I've read through the highlights, and I'm just now surmising what I've read. But if you want to download these documents and read them for yourself to see if what I'm saying is accurate, you're free to do so. Now, the Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development was published in May 2010 by the Rockefeller Foundation. It had various scenarios in the future that were written by a futurologist named Peter Schwartz. They do this all the time, like in 1984 in Brave New World. Under the guise of science fiction, it's predictive programming. They tell you what they're going to do through entertainment, like V is for Vendetta. And then your subconscious is now exposed to it, and you accept it since your brain has already seen it subconsciously. Now, one of these scenarios in the document is called Lockstep, a world of tighter top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. This is directly from the document itself. In 2012, the pandemic that the world has been anticipating for years finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain, originating from wild geese, was extremely virulent and deadly. Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Even locally, normally bustling shops and office buildings sat empty for months, devoid of both employees and customers. And it continues. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their authority and imposed airtight rules and restrictions, from the mandatory wearing a mask. Now, the CDC has not mandated it, but they have recommended that anyone in public wear a mask, to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces like train stations and supermarkets. My dad currently works in an essential industry. Well, one that is deemed essential by the government. And he told me the other day that before he goes in, he has to have his temperature checked before he can set foot in the door. If he's running a fever, they send him home. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck and even intensified. In order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemics and transnational terrorism to environmental crises and rising poverty, leaders around the world took a firm grip on power. And so in this scenario, they talked about a geese that has a disease. It passes it to people in the population. They have to shut down economies, international travel, tourism, make people wear masks, check people's temperature at doors, and increase government control even after this pandemic ends. This was written in 2010, and it's called Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. And if you want to save time, just go to the Lockstep part of it. The rest of it is just boring. It doesn't mean a hill of beans. Now, here's the thing. If you're telling me, after looking at this document, that I'm a conspiracy theorist, then you're basically saying that Bill Gates, the people involved in Event 201, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Club of Rome, all these individuals are so smart, they just happened to come to the same conclusion that a global pandemic was going to happen, similar to what we're currently in. To me, it takes a lot more faith. It makes you more of a conspiracy theorist to believe that than that this was their admitted plan, problem, reaction, solution. In future videos, we will talk more about what their final plan is after this pandemic ends, some of the scientific and economic consequences of this pandemic.